to lay her head on a pillow of clouds and pull a blanket of sky. The world spinning and crashing into her all the time. But this time, it's her instead. Standing on the edge, looking down from on top of the world.
Let your experience begin right now. From high atop the mountains of British Columbia to you listening around the world, this is Spaced Out Radio. You can follow us on our website, spacedoutradio.com, on Twitter, @SpacedOutRadio. Give our Facebook page a like, Spaced Out Radio Show. You can follow us on Instagram, Dave Scott, SOR, or on our YouTube channel, Spaced Out Radio Show. Buckle up, space travelers. It's time to go for a ride as we are live on Spaced Out Radio. Good evening and welcome to Space Out Radio tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott, and thank you so much for tuning in to us at spacedoutradio.com and on Spreaker. As once again we come in from the frozen Canadian tundra, battle our way past the wild animals, sidestep Bigfoot, and enter Uncle Jimbo's cabin, stoke the fire, heat this place up, and broadcast you live on this Tuesday night, early Wednesday morning if you're on the East Coast. Here at SOR, we do this thing 7 days a week. We want to be your official one-stop shop when it comes to the supernatural, paranormal, conspiratorial, ufological, spiritual, and so much more. Space Out Radio's theme music is courtesy of guitar god Ron Bumblefoot Thal. You can find his new album, Little Brother Is Watching, by going to spacedoutradio.com. Hey, if you're on social media, especially on Twitter, give us a follow at Spaced Out Radio. You can give our Facebook page a like, Spaced Out Radio Show. We're encroaching on 2,500 there. On Instagram, you can follow me at Dave Scott, SOR. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel, Spaced Out Radio Show. That's where all our archives go. And of course, our website is spacedoutradio.com. At this time, we'd love to welcome our fans out in the Spaced Out Radio chat room, along with our fans at Paranormal Into the Night and Paranormal Forum. As well, we have just added SHR Media. They are syndicating Spaced Out Radio as of tonight. If you're a fan of Spaced Out Radio, coming soon is our Space Travelers membership, where for only $5 a month you can win prizes, take part in private group interviews, have special sections in our website, a monthly newsletter, and so much more. Hey, we're going to give you a hell of a lot more than just our archives. Tonight's show is brought to you by Rivulet Reiki and Readings, providing healings in person or at a distance. PurplePlates.com, helping heal your body, mind, and soul. The official newspaper of Space Out Radio is the new Agora newspaper, and the official ghost hunting app of SOR is the iPhone app Spirit Storybox. First off, before we get to tonight's show, I want to say that Spaced Out Radio welcomes our new listeners listening in at SHR Media. Our show is now being syndicated by them as their flagship nightly broadcast. We want to welcome them on the air, and please feel free to make yourselves right at home here in Uncle Jimbo's cabin. Tonight, we were scheduled to have Davina Caballo on, but after a very unpleasant phone call with her, on her part, I decided, my listeners don't deserve somebody like that on the air. So I said, screw it. We're not doing the show. She actually hung up. It was kind of rude. And I decided, let's worry about something else. So, no worries at all, really. She won't be invited back anytime soon, if ever. The show must go on, though. And while I was thinking about it a few hours ago after this happened, I decided we'd open up the phone lines to you. It's been a while since we've had the phone lines open, and the focus tonight is your haunted stories. I want to hear what scares you. What freaks you out? Tell me about your paranormal encounters you have had. The best story of the night will win an autographed book from Isaac Weishaupt. He was our Illuminati watcher. We had him on the air just last month. What an incredible show that was. But I'm going to send you an autographed copy of his book. 1-702-302-4556 is the call-in number. That's 1-702-302-4556. It is an American number. You can also Skype me at Spaced Out Radio Dave. So, tonight, we're getting into the paranormal. I'm excited about it. I am thrilled about doing this topic because, you know what? I've actually had a lot of people recently come up to me and say, hey, Dave, why don't you do enough paranormal shows? Why don't you do more? And it's true, we don't do a lot of paranormal. I've talked to my booking coordinator, Corey, about this, And it's something that we are going to be changing very, very quickly here on this show. In fact, I believe half of May is pretty much paranormal. The problem that I have with a lot of this paranormal field is, and it's a personal thing, not that I have a vendetta against them or anything like that, but one of the things that I have against the paranormal field is it's just so damn dramatic. Have you noticed that? There always seems to be people stabbing each other in the back. There always seems to be the big argument, psychics versus no psychics, equipment versus equipment, lasers versus old school investigation, paranormal unity. How many hashtags have we seen on that? And it just seems like a real jumbled mess. Let's not even start about the ghost boxers out there. Never mind Bill Hauser, who is, I think, one of the most credible and one of the most gifted out there. And we've had him on the show doing live ghost box sessions. We're going to have to schedule one of those in the near future, at least. So, I wanted to get back into the paranormal because I do feel that we have kind of let that subject down, and it does play a big part of what we do here. We need to get a little bit more into it. But when I say that, I want you to know this. Corey and I send out about 200 emails a month because we like to stay booked well in advance. I'm looking at our schedule right now, and we are booked solid through the first week of June. So right now, let's start 1, 2, there's 4.5 weeks in May, so there's 6.5, 7 weeks we are booked in advance. And out of those 200 emails, let's take, say, 10 of the paranormal, 10 of UFOs. Just using UFOs as a topic here, or ufology. And I would say Corey and I get responses on about 7 out of every 10 emails we get from UFO people. Out of the paranormal field, we're lucky if we get 2 out of 10. Because maybe I'm wrong, and you, the listener, can tell me. I'm not very interested in finding out about all these haunted paratourism places like Waverly Hills or former prisons or former schools or things like that. Things that everybody, we already know it's haunted. The hard part about it is trying to find paranormal people, A, of credibility, and B, it's about really trying to bring it all together and find some very good haunted stories. Much like when we had Andrea Perrin on discussing The Conjuring. Or we've had people on this show talking about how haunted Route 66 is. So in May, we've put a heck of a lot more emphasis on the paranormal in regards to ghosts, phantoms, demons, hauntings. We want to try and make it a little bit more personable. We want to try and make it a little bit more understanding for people out there. Let's find a good ghost story. I think that's a heck of a lot more fun besides someone saying, yes, I use a K2 meter and a laser grid when I am out ghost hunting. That is what I get most of my stuff on. I'm just having some fun here. But the main thing is you get the gist of what I'm saying. We got to find those people who are truly, truly digging in to the ghost stories. They may be paranormal groups. They may be individuals who actually live in haunted houses. But that's what we're going to focus on a little bit more coming up into the future here on Spaced Out Radio. Phone lines are open tonight. Tell me your haunted stories. 1-702-302-4556 is the phone number. 1-702-302-4556. Once again, you can call in. We're going to talk. The best story of the night is going to win a prize tonight. It's going to be a lot of fun. I want to get a little freaked out tonight. I'm just feeling it. I'm feeling like I need a good ghost story. I don't know why. It's like I'm craving it. We are going to go to the phone lines right now, and this is Seth calling in via Skype. Seth, how you doing tonight?
Oh, hey, man, I'm doing good. How are you?
I am really good. This is Seth from the Seth Kinsey Show. Great show on YouTube. All you got to do is go into the Kinsey Show. I hope you don't mind me giving you a little bit of a plug there, buddy.
Hey, no problem, man. I actually have several occurrences. Thank you for, having me on. But actually, this started in Hamilton, New York, where we lived 3 years ago. And it really seemed like our house was attacking us, or so we thought it was a house. Out of nowhere, my wife is reaching into the freezer, and all of a sudden her finger is split wide open. There's no there's no hanging ice or anything like that. And I was reaching into the oven to get something out of the oven, and I thought the kids were running through the house. And I felt something physically push me, like it was trying to push me into the oven, and I got a burn on my wrist. Okay, so we moved, and we moved to a house, about 3.5, 4 miles away in a different school district. But we had several different occurrences of things, and actually we still can't explain it to this day, but last summer my son was going to go outside, and a door shattered on him. He went through the door, and he wasn't running, he was walking. But the weird thing was about this, Dave, it almost severed his foot off. He lost an artery in his leg. He had to have reconstructive surgery on all the tendons. Now, but the weird thing about this, Dave, is that the glass in the door was going inward and not out. Now, with his weight, he's a big kid. He's almost as tall as I am. He's 5 feet, 100 pounds. And he almost went, he almost died. He went through the door. And so anyway, I described things to my friend. Maybe you've seen him on my friends list. The name is Alrokia, Yorkshire. And he says, well, maybe you have some jinn going on in your house. And so I started reciting verses of the Quran to try to get rid of the jinn. And so here probably about a month and a half ago, Dave, my son comes out of the bedroom with a physical hand mark across his face, like someone had, knocked the hell out of him. And I said, what happened to you? What happened to you? He says, well, I saw this big, long, black-legged thing come out of the mirror, and when I yelled at it, it hit me in the face.
No way. Did it leave a mark?
Yes, it did leave a mark. I mean, it left a mark, and, we woke my wife up and showed her, and, after a while it went away, but, I was afraid to send him to school thinking that they would think that one of us walloped them or something, and we don't do that type of thing. But he had, long finger marks across his face, and it went from it was on the right side of his face, and it went from below his ear, and the fingers kind of came around and up past both of his eyes and into his hairline where you couldn't see it. Like a very long hand.
Really?
Yeah.
How long was that on his face for?
It was on his face until, about the end of the day, and it wore away, but it was there. And, I looked at him, I'm thinking, well, maybe did you sleep on your hand? Did you have a bad dream? Stuff like that. I'm looking at him, no. And so I measured, his hand up against it, and his fingers didn't even reach a quarter of the length of what this was on his face. I mean, it looked like, the pattern of, like, Braveheart paint, so to speak, but it was a hand. And so what I did was I made our version in Islam of holy water and recited it, and I've been going around the house every night now and putting it on all the exits and entrances to the house. And we haven't had a problem since.
So you mentioned that it was coming from the mirror, as to what your son said. Did he describe that in detail as to what it looked like and how it came out of the mirror?
Yes, he described it, and he said it was really tall, and he described it as willowy. Even though he's in 5th grade, he's a very articulate young man, and he said it was willowy. And he says when it stepped out of the mirror, you saw a big long leg come out, and then his arm, and then the head, and there was nothing there except 2 big white eyes. He said you couldn't see facial features or nothing. And it was very long, and it came out, and he said, and it stood there looking at me, and he says, I tried to yell for you, Daddy, but you couldn't hear me, but it heard me, and it slapped me.
Had you always had things that were evil in your house, or was this just something that you feel was in that particular home?
Well, see, I think this thing followed us because these things had been happening in 2 separate houses, but it didn't happen until we moved into the one in Hamilton, New York. And the reason we actually moved out of that one, I had pulled a double shift, and I came home and I was asleep upstairs, and the rest of the family was outside cooking out, and I was going to wake up and join the family and everything. Well, the whole house shook like there was an earthquake. And it was the only house on the block, and it's the oldest house on the block, but it was the only house that shook. And so we go in the living room, and there's a dip in the floor, and about 3 of the 7 joists that were holding the house up underneath the basement had fallen straight to the center of the floor. And the maintenance men who came for the landlord, he sent them out right away. He looked at it, and they fixed it, and we moved out, like a month later. They fixed it, and they're saying, something physically had to have done this, but there's no way that it was any of you guys. Because, we have, my father-in-law, he's a disabled veteran, and, he walks with a cane and things like that. And me, I'm 5'3" and maybe 190, and there's no way that I could have knocked all those out. And they just all had fallen, and that was the last straw. We had stuff dripping from the ceiling that we couldn't even explain. I had it on my old camera, but unfortunately I can't recover the photos. But ever since I've been doing this reciting, it's gone away because I learned from my friend Shaheen about the jinn catching and things like that. But I wanted to let you know that this came to mind. And there were things that happened when I was a child, too. It's more than one story, Dave. I remember laying in bed, and I was about 9 years old, and all of a sudden, in the corner from the torso up, I see an old man with a very long beard, and he's just clapping his hands, and it looks like he's having like a hoedown or something like that in the corner. He's spinning around, he's with nobody else. I look at him, he looks at me, and he smiles and disappears.
What's funny about that story is my booking coordinator, Corey, had something similar happen to her just a couple of months ago, where she actually had like Mexican tribal dancers dancing in her bedroom at the middle of the night and was keeping her awake.
Mm-hmm.
I've never had the dancers yet, but apparently they're out there.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff, and I heard what you were talking about the equipment in the spirit box, and one thing I would really like to say, I know it's off topic of telling you my most, paranormal story, but I think in the world of the paranormal, some of the most profound experiences that we can have are those that we do experience alone, and maybe we can't get them on tape. But I do have to ask this of you, and maybe the listeners too, if they would want to respond to you. do you think, Dave, that when paranormal things of any kind, good or evil, happen to us, do you think that it is because, A, we are open-minded and therefore receptive to it, or B, do you think these things happen because the entities, both good and bad, know that we have the potential to be open, and therefore that's what triggers us, to talk about and explore the world of the paranormal and the unseen?
Oh, that's a tough question because there are so many different outlines to what the paranormal is. You know, I can only go by my own experiences. And what I know is, as I started to open up in 2011, late 2011, my own paranormal sightings and communication started almost effective immediately. And I think when they want to get their message out, they have the ability to get their message out, no matter what they want to do. Whether it's a spirit, whether it's a ghost, whether it's a poltergeist or a demon, they will do it when they're ready. It's almost like, you know, when you're warmed up and you're ready to go skiing or play some football or baseball or whatever. It's like they take the time to warm up and get things going in regards to building up their own energy to make this happen, that they have focused on you, and they're going to, like, it's almost like a Kmart blue light special, man, where all of a sudden your blue light is flashing, and they're like, oh, there's one that's picking us up. Let's go check in with him, or let's go check in with her. You know, I realize I'm simplifying everything here, Seth, but
I understand.
But it almost seems that way because for a lot of people who have these experiences, when it rains, it pours, much like what is happening with your son. And I think your son is very special. I mean, yes, it wasn't a very pleasant encounter, but to be able to have seen what was happening to him, I think that you know, he's probably specially connected.
You know, and we've always believed that. I want to open up your lines for other callers, but I just want to leave you something to think about. Now, my wife was Rh negative, and I know you have to know some of the implications of that. And when she was pregnant with my son, we were in the apartment, and we were just starting out, new couple. We had a mattress on the floor in our bedroom and a small TV, and then a couch, and that was about it, and our clothes on our back. So, you know, I wake up from a nap, Dave, and I will swear on the Holy Quran right now, I saw in the doorway this about 6.5, 7 foot tall grasshopper-looking creature. It wasn't a gray. It looked more like a grasshopper. And it was in a hooded cloak, kind of like a, friar tuck, a purple band around the waist. And I looked at this thing, and I saw it, and I was scared, but I was in attack mode. And I ran at this thing like I was going to, sack it for the touchdown, man. And when I dove at it, it kind of, I don't know if it vaporized or if it left quicker than I could get to it, but I went through it, and I hit the wall head on.
Wow, that's
and
pretty
so here's
intense.
my son. And so we send him over to, we had apartment complexes across the way, and in the apartment complex across the way, you could look out the window, you could see what my father-in-law was watching on TV, because we were in an apartment, and he was in the disabled apartments for the veterans and the seniors. And so across the way, I could see, everything he's doing from my apartment. That's how far away we were. So my son walked back over in the morning across the field, and he came to me, and he says, Daddy, I had the weirdest dream. I said, what's that? He says, me and Grandpa, we took a trip. And I'm like, yeah? Well, where'd you go? Well, we went into the sky. I says, really? Well, who'd you go with? And he said, the little doctors. What do you mean the little doctors? I says, was Mommy and Daddy in the dream? And he says, well, I saw you, Daddy, but you were told to stay there. You were told you couldn't come this time.
So your little guy is an abductee as well.
I'm almost thinking that with certain things, He's just he does have high-functioning autism, but I'm telling you, I can sit down with this kid and I can have a conversation with him on the same level that I can a man of my own age, and he gets it. He doesn't just listen and go, yeah, and twiddle his thumbs like a lot of kids his age. He gets it, and he is on the level. And he's always inquisitive, always asking questions spiritually and things like that.
Right.
And I'm just, amazed. I did a program on it on my YouTube channel about being RH negative and things like that. But again, I'm going to open up the lines. I do appreciate you letting me on for a call. The last thing I'm going to leave you with, Dave, is if you would like a gem catcher on your program, I have an email and I can send it to you privately.
Yes, we'll look into that, and we'll talk privately on that probably tomorrow or the next day. Seth, I got to hop out for a break. Thank you so much for sharing your stories. That is just incredible with what happened to your son there. And, you're a good friend of this show, and I appreciate you taking the time.
Hey, no problem, man, and I let everybody know they better listen to you, too.
I appreciate
Take it easy,
that.
and you guys don't stop believing. Keep listening. This is an awesome show.
Take care. Seth Kinsey from The Kinsey Show. You can find that on YouTube. We are going to step out for our first break of the night. When we come back, more of your stories, some of mine, and we're going to open up the phone lines because it's all about you. Remember, we have a autographed book on the line for the best ghost stories tonight.
Would you like to become one of our space travelers? All you have to do is click on the Space Travelers icon at spacedoutradio.com. For only $5 a month, you can get access to some great prizes, as well as private monthly shows, newsletters, and a members-only section on our website. Become a space traveler today.
Hi there. This is your medium, Joanna, from Spaced Out Weekend, 2 Mediums and a Large. I would love it if you would come and join us with host James Tyson every other Sunday on Spaced Out Weekend. Together, we will take your calls and your questions live. Our goal is to provide you with a positive outlook on deep questions that you may have. Questions regarding love, relationships, money, or whatever else is on your mind. Come and check us out at spacedoutradio.com.
Every Saturday and Sunday night, as Dave Scott wanders aimlessly in the wilderness, you can come hang out with me, James Tyson, in Spaced Out Weekend. Starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, I'll take you along as we talk with some of the best experts in their fields. SpacedOutRadio.com is the place to find us. So sit down, relax, put your feet up. Enjoy the topics like the paranormal, supernatural, intuitiveness, and so much more. Hope to see you there.
Hi there, this is Elizabeth Anglin, and on the last Monday of every month, I join Dave Scott for Spaced Out Radio's Cosmic Passport. We delve into everything from extraterrestrial contact to animal communication. It's a lot of fun, and every month it's something different and exciting. I would love it if you would join us. You can hear and learn from my experiences, and I'd like to know about yours as well. Cosmic Passport on SpacedOutRadio.com.
Hey everybody, this is Patrick Webster Small, and I'm here to bring you the Webster Phenomena every Saturday night, live at 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 p.m. Eastern. If you're looking for aliens and extraterrestrials, well, we've got them. Big and tall, short and small. You're bound to find what you're looking for, so join me on the Webster Phenomena right here on Spaced Out Radio.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. With their money-back guarantee and the many benefits, how can you afford not to get one? Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com for mind, body, and spirit, and expect a miracle.
Have you ever wondered about those weird and strange creatures people have reported throughout history? Do you wonder if those stories are real? Me too, and that's why I started Cryptopia.us. Hey, this is Rob Morphy, crypto historian. Join me once a month on Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott, where we will get into the odd and bizarre reports, from the Dover Demon to hairy hominids and everything in between. I will break down what people like you and me are seeing at spacedoutradio.com.
Would you like to advertise on Spaced Out Radio? Getting your message out to Spaced Out Radio's listeners will benefit you. Our listeners are loyal, intelligent, and supportive, and they support those who support this broadcast. For pricing and information, you could go to spacedoutradio.com to find the pricing guide that suits your needs, with many options to choose from. Advertise with Spaced Out Radio today by contacting us at info@spacedoutradio.com.
Want to connect with us online? Find us on Facebook, Spaced Out Radio Show, on Twitter @Spaced Out Radio, on Instagram, Dave Scott SOR, on YouTube, Spaced Out Radio Show, and our website is spacedoutradio.com. All right, space travelers, here comes the second half hour of Spaced Out Radio.
Welcome back to Spaced Out Radio tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott. Thank you so much for being with us. Always appreciate your time. We are opening up the phone lines to you. 1-702-302-4556. I want to hear your haunted stories. Best story of the night is going to win a autographed book from Isaac Weishaupt. He is our Illuminati watcher. It's a great read. I've got it right here. It's actually in my hand as we speak, called Sacrifice, The Magic Behind the Mic. It's autographed for you. That is the prize for tonight. 1-702-302-4556 is the call-in number. Your most haunted or weird paranormal stories. My first paranormal experience happened when I was about 21 years old. Before I decided to get off my butt and actually go to college, I was a hockey instructor. And I worked at a training facility where there was something angry in this building. I'd never had a paranormal experience up until this point. And I remember I had opened up the rink one morning at about 5 a.m. And there was a young group of kids coming in for early morning hockey practice. And I was sitting in the office talking with some of the parents that I know. And the rink was in this warehouse facility that had a bunch of empty buildings that were connected to it. And it was brand new, that's why the buildings were empty. And what had happened was, we were at the end of the facility. And at that point, as the building was brand new, just opened, the next business next to us was at the first part of the facility. And this is all one long building, probably quarter-mile long. So what happened was, I'm sitting there chatting with the parents in my office, and all of a sudden on the brick wall behind me, it sounded like someone was smashing a sledgehammer against the wall. And it hit 3 times, and then it stopped. And we all kind of looked and said, well, that's weird. Wonder who's next door. And I sat back in my chair, and right behind me again, it banged 3 times right behind me. So we got up, we grabbed a flashlight. A couple parents and I, we went over to the bay doors for the building that was connected to us. And we flashed the flashlight inside. And of course, being the typical paranormal experiment, nothing was there. And it was very, very intriguing, because that kicked off a lot of things. I remember my cousin and a good mutual friend of ours, they had come to pick me up because the rink closed at 11 and we were young and we were going to the bar afterwards to grab a beer. And we were the only 3 in the building. The building was locked up. Nobody had been in the building besides us for probably 20 minutes. And I'm tidying up the dressing rooms, cleaning them up, so that way they're nice and clean for the next day. And all of a sudden, we start hearing hockey pucks hitting the plexiglass. Now, if you're a hockey fan, or you've been to a hockey game, you'll know that when a hockey puck hits the glass, it makes a very, very distinct sound. Nobody had been on that ice for almost 45 minutes. Nobody else but us had been in that building for at least 20 minutes. So we run out to the rink, which from the dressing room is probably 25 feet, because I wanted to see who was on the ice. And once again, no one was there. The weirdest thing that happened there was one day the bathroom exploded. And this story is a little grotesque, but I'm going to mention it anyways. What happened was, my boss called me up, or I was coming in for a shift, and he's like, I need you to do something gross. And I'm like, what? He goes, I need you to clean the bathroom. He goes, someone took feces and threw it all over the bathroom. It was everywhere. It was grotesque. It was stinky. As you can probably imagine, I don't need to paint the picture any further than that. I spent 5 hours cleaning and disinfecting this bathroom. We then locked up the building for a couple of days because it was a Christmas break. And on Christmas Day at about noon, I get a phone call from my boss. And he's screaming at me. And he says to me, I thought I told you to clean the bathroom. I said I did. And he said some expletives. He goes, obviously you didn't, because there is SHIT absolutely everywhere. If you don't want to do your job, I will find someone else to do it. And I started naming off names of players who were there that saw me clean it up, because I had that area blocked off, and I had to lay carpets on the ground so hockey players could get to the other part of the rink without damaging their skates so they could go to the bathroom. And when I went in on Boxing Day, the bathroom had exploded again. Footsteps, people running around. There was a fire in the building on a brand new machine that cost $30,000 to make the ice. These things don't catch on fire. In fact, it was the first machine ever recorded to catch on fire. It is a pain in the butt. This was one very, very upset spirit. I didn't have a paranormal experience for a while after that. My ex-wife and I had moved into a house. We shared a duplex. Our friends lived on one side, we lived on the other. And if you just tried calling in on Skype, I did not get it. Can you please call in again if you're from an 808 area code? I just want to let you know. You hung up a little too fast. So I'll continue with my story until this call comes through. Our friend's side of the duplex was absolutely clean. Nothing happened there. Our side, it was very haunted. We would have my daughters staying at Grandma and Grandpa's house. And we would hear the squeaky bedroom door from my daughter's room open up. Then the pitter-patter of little feet going into the master bedroom. And my wife and I at the time, we didn't have a lot of money, so we couldn't afford a good bed. Our bed was comfortable, but it was squeaky. And you'd hear like a child jumping up and down on our bed. And it was continual. The squeakiness of the bed. And that child, as far as I knew, would eventually show herself to us. I was working at a radio station, and I will finish this story up in just a little bit. We're going to hop back onto the phone lines here, an 808 area code. Hello, who is this calling in?
Oh, it's Nisa.
Hi, Lisa. How are you?
No, Nisa. Is it Dave?
Nisa. Yes, it is Dave.
Hey, how you doing, dude?
I am very, very good. How are you doing?
I'm fine, thank you. Just got back from walking the dogs.
Very nice.
And I see that we're going spooky, so it's like, oh yes, I've got tons of spooky stories.
Well, I would love it if you could share one of your spooky stories with us, and maybe two.
Okay. Well, this happened way, way back. Well, not that way back, but I was in my teens, and I needed to make some money. It was summertime. I think I was maybe 13, 14. And my mom didn't want me to, go to work full time. So she said, why don't you go talk to your Aunt Bessie? She has her own cleanup company, where she goes house to house on weekdays and sometimes on the weekends to go and clean these beautiful houses in the windward side of the island. So I said, okay, I guess. So my aunt said, yeah, you want to make some money, you come with me. Saturday, I've got 5 houses to clean. And, kids, they don't want to clean, right? But this is money. So she goes, I tell you what, there's a little house over here, and I'll just tell you what to do. It's not hard at all. Maybe you can make $20, $30. How's that? I'm like, oh, yes, $30 to a teenager was like the lottery, I think. Not anymore, but back then, So my aunt took me to this little house, and it wasn't very hard to do. I swept, and she did whatever she had to do. And we went to the next house, and then the next house, and the 4th house was the one that really, really made me remember, because this house was high up in the Pollies, and it was in a very elaborate neighborhood, big house. It was owned by, I don't know, some millionaire person that you never do see. The house was empty at the time. The owners were out, and she said, I cleaned about 3/4 of the house. We just have to finish the kitchen and then part of this living room, and then we'll both tackle the laundry room. So I said, okay. So she took me to the living room, and she said, this is what you do. You kind of sweep, and then you dust here and there. And I'll go in the kitchen, and I'll do the dishes and whatever. She wasn't too far away. It was already probably 3 or 4 in the afternoon. But for anybody who knows the Poly area, it's very high in the mountains, and it usually looks dark even in the afternoon because it's rainy sometimes. There's clouds and stuff. And the house itself was on the mountain side, kind of like in the mountain, by the mountain base. So it's within a woodsy area, a little bit farther from civilization. So it's dark because the trees and the foliage, big, meaty leaves kind of thing. Beautiful, beautiful kind of real tropical forest. So the living room is situated facing this forest area. I know it's not going to be a Bigfoot story, but I walk into the living room with my broom and my dust thing, and I see smoke coming out from behind this wall area thing. And I look in and I said, hello. And then I see this old man, and he just kind of peered over. And I go, I'm just here to kind of sweep, sir. I hope I'm not bothering you. And he just smiled. And I noticed that he had ashes on the floor. Like he was smoking like a tobacco thing. So he smiled. He didn't say nothing. I figured, okay, I won't bother you. I'll just dust and do my thing. And then my aunt called me over. She said, Nisa, I need some help. Can you come over here? So I went a little bit, and she had to reach over and get some pots from the top, and I had to hold that ladder she was standing on. And I left the room, went back in, and the man was gone. So I figured maybe she went to the, garden or wherever he went. But it was fine. The chair was there, and the ashes were still on the floor. And then the lady came in, and I hear this talking. She was the lady of the house. And she goes, Lisa, I want you to meet the lady, who owns the house. I forget her name. Mrs. I forget. But let's just say Mrs. Jones. So he goes, okay, this is my niece, and she's here to help me. And she's this real hoity-toity, higher than thou kind of guy, with the woman, and nose high and up in the air. And she just kind of looked at me like, oh, okay, well, I hope you're doing me a favor by cleaning the house very well, because I don't think you can. And she didn't say that, but, in so many words, the look she gave me was kind of like that. And I said, nice to meet you, ma'am. She goes, okay, you are cleaning the living room. Okay, let me go inspect. And she kind of walked down that way, and I looked at my aunt, and she's like, never mind, she's like that. Then about a couple of seconds later, there was this blood-curdling scream. She's like, well, what did you do to my living room? And I'm like, oh, my God, what did I do? I didn't break anything. I don't think I break anything. What did I do? So my aunt is like, just stay over here. Let me go check it out. So she went to look, and this woman was in hysterics. She's going, what did you do to my grandfather? And I'm like, nothing. I didn't do anything to your grandfather. He was just sitting over there smoking. And she looked at me like I was crazy. She goes, oh, wait, I forgot. Okay, I was sweeping the area, and I went to sweep up the ashes. I forgot that part. And I put the ashes in the bag because, he smoked. And that was when I went to go and talk to my aunt. Okay, bring back to where the lady was in hysterics. She goes, what did you do to my grandfather? I said, nothing, ma'am. He was smoking, and some of his ashes were on the ground. And she goes, my grandfather is enjoying an afternoon view of the garden or whatever. And I didn't know that the ashes themselves were her grandfather. And she likes to lay all the ashes out in the sun so that she can, that was so odd to me, so that she could enjoy the afternoon sun. And I'm thinking, I'm sorry, I saw this old man who was smoking, and his ashes I thought were from the cigar. And she goes, where did you put my grandfather? I go, oh, in the garbage can. I wasn't paid that day, of course, and but she was like, she went to the garbage, carefully took the ashes, and then she said, I think you guys got to leave. And I'm like, I didn't know. I saw a man, Dave. He was smoking a cigar, and his cigar fell off, in ashes on the floor, and that's what I saw. What else can I say? I didn't know the grandfather was cremated, and what an odd thing to do. I looked at her like, well, what? You might lose some of him, and I shouldn't have said that, but I was dismissed.
I can understand why you were fired. No offense.
Yes.
I can understand that. My goodness. And you would have had no clue because of the entity that you saw.
Yeah.
And if he was like clear as day, like a regular human being just standing there, how would you know? You wouldn't.
No beans. Yep. And he, like you said, like a person in front of my face, like bones and everything. He just looked at me, didn't say anything, and smiled. And I figure, okay, one of them people that don't want to talk to me, it's fine,
Wow.
I'm just here to do my job. Yeah. Yep. So that's my story. I don't know if it was scary, but I was yelled at, and
that was weird. Well, you know what? That's weird and macabre at the same time. Wow. I don't even know how I would react.
I thought they were supposed to be in the urn. You don't take your grandfather out and put him out on the floor to make him.
No.
Why can't you just open up the urn and let the sunshine go in? Then I'll understand. Okay, well, that must be an ashtray, and I'll just cover it or something. Well, knowing me, I probably would have thrown it away. Oops.
Wow.
Sorry, Grandpa.
That is intense. And, you know, in the end, how did you feel, Nisa, regarding the fact that you're now seeing 2 + 2 = 4 when you got Grandpa walking out of the room with his cigar, you have his ashes on the ground, and you're now fired because you threw Grandpa in the garbage. I don't mean to laugh, but what did you feel afterwards when you were able to calm down, settle down, and realize what had happened?
I couldn't. It took a while for me to understand what I just did. Because, well, for one thing, my aunt was pretty upset because it was I guess a long-time client, and although they're really picky about things, they did pay her, and she was upset about it, but you can't help, you can't help. But when I realized that was a dead person, and, it was weird, and I couldn't connect it. I really couldn't connect the fact that I saw a spirit and the ashes are on the floor. Maybe it took several years after that when I really understood cremation and then really explored through paranormal stuff and spirits and all that kind of stuff. There's so many, Dave, they actually come solid to you from what I understand. There was another story, and I'll make it really short, but I met a ghost in a solid form. And I told, Paranormal Into the Night way in the beginning when Dino started interviewing us and getting stories from us. This story, my ex was working as a caregiver in a really posh, kind of like a hotel/rest home for geriatric patients. And he was working on the 7th floor with the dementia patients. And, at that time we were sharing a car. And one night I told him I won't be able to return because I was working in the day and he was working on second shift or swing or graveyard, one of those. And I said, I can't come and pick you up because I've got this meeting to go to afterwards. He goes, that's fine. I'll catch a ride, but you're going to have to pick me up after work. I said, okay. And he gets off at about 2:30, the magic hour between 1 and 3 when everything happens. So I said, fine, that's fine. I'll come and pick you up. My meeting finished at about 10 or 11. I went to 7-Eleven, got myself the industrial-sized coffee and a book, and I said, I'll just go over there and wait, because it's so posh that it looks like a hotel, There's a part where the geriatric patients live independently, but whenever something might happen to them and they require added assistance, then they go to this other section where it's the hospital, kind of like semi-hospital for them. So I said hi to the guard, kind of got to know them when I picked them up earlier. You get to know these people. And he goes, oh, you're here to pick up your guy? And I said, yeah, is it okay to just sit here? He goes, yeah, sure, just sit here. This is like the 5-star hotel. How can you ever meet a ghost in this 5-star hotel, right? There's music going on, bright lights, everything is fine. The only strange thing is there's this stainless steel 2-set door elevator in the back where people go and if there should be anything that happened to the patients there, they would walk kind of unseen, and then that elevator would transfer them over to the hospital side. It travels them back. So everything's fine, and I got there about 11:30, and I'm reading and drinking my coffee. Nothing out of the ordinary. The guard goes on his rounds, and then he returns about an hour and a half afterwards. I fell asleep. He gets off at about 2:30. I fell asleep about 1-ish already. I walked up to somebody poking my shoulder. And, it's one of those where you don't really notice and they keep poking your shoulder. So I wake up and I look at this woman staring down at me, and she's wearing this really faded canary yellow flannel gown. And she said, "Can you help me?" And I look at her. And mind you, before all this, my ex told me, you have to be careful because sometimes there are dementia patients that get away from the 7th floor. I don't know how they get away, but if you should meet any of them, talk to them, keep them calm because they might hurt themselves, and then tell the guard, and we'll take it from there. So I said, okay. So in my head, I'm like, oh my God, you must be one of them escaped dementia patients. What am I supposed to do? The guard isn't around. So I look at her and I said, "Are you lost, ma'am? Are you okay?" And she said, the nurses won't let me back up. And I'm thinking, okay, my mind is hazy right now, but then I'm noticing that this woman must be distressed. So I said, "Well, ma'am, okay, calm down," because she was on the verge of tears. She goes, "I don't know what I did, but the nurses won't let me back in. And, I can't get back into my room." So I said, "Okay, ma'am, you know what? Let's sit down and talk about it. Or, you know what? Let me go and get a wheelchair." Because she was right in the middle of 2 couches, and I didn't want her to fall. She was so thin and frail looking. I thought, my God, if she fell, she would break a hip or something. So I said, okay. I gently approached her so she wouldn't freak out. I said, "You know what, ma'am? Let me guide you to the couch. Come hold my hand." She held my arm, and it felt like an electric shock had gone up my elbow all the way up to my shoulder. It was so cold and weird feeling, David. It's like, when you're out in the cold and you have a feeling in your tooth, and you can feel that feeling? Yeah. Or a nail in your bone, motorcycle. Yes, that's how it felt, intensely up my arm. And I figured, 1 and 1 isn't 2 yet. This must be how old people feel. They're cold, and poor thing, she needs a blanket. So I told her, "Ma'am, you know what? Calm down." She's about to cry. I said, "We'll find somebody to help you, okay? Oh, there's a wheelchair. Let me go and get the wheelchair for you. Will you stay right here?" And she said, "No, please don't leave me." I said, "No, I won't leave you. I'm just going to go get a wheelchair and you can sit down and relax." And she's like freaking out. I'm like, I'm going to go, and I'm backwards, walking backwards so I won't leave, my eyes won't lose contact with her. And I backed right into a corner of a table, and the sharp end just hit my butt so hard that I had to turn, and find out that I was, what was it I backed into? And I lost contact with her. At the same time, the guard came back and said, "What are you doing?" And I said, "There's this woman right here. She's one of the escaped dementia patients that I was told about." And he goes, "Where?" And I go, "Well, she's right here." And when I turned, she was gone.
Oh, wow.
So, at the same time, this ambulance comes and drives right in front of the entrance. And I kind of looked, and there was no sound, no sirens, nothing, no lights. It just, like a wind, just rolled right in. And then I hear the ding from the elevator in the back. Remember those 2 stainless steel elevator doors? Right then and there, my ex comes pushing a gurney. The time just went slow-mo. I felt like I was in a dream. Yeah, because he's walking. You hear the gurney sound of the wheels on the gurney kind of squeak. And then the wind, or the door opens, and this wind blows in and lifts the sheet, just the corner of the sheet. And there's that familiar pale-looking canary yellow flannel gown. And I'm thinking, oh my God, this looks so familiar,
Right.
It's the lady. Yeah.
Incredible. Incredible. Nisa, I'm going to step out for a break. I want to say thank you for sharing those stories. Right now, I think you're leading the pack with sweeping up Grandpa's ashes and throwing them in the garbage. That kind of makes me laugh. But thank you so much for sharing your stories tonight.
You're very welcome.
You take care. That's Nisa from Paranormal Into the Night, all the way from Hawaii. What island are you on in Hawaii?
I'm on Oahu right now.
Oh, I'd love to see it. I've never been to Hawaii. But
come on over.
I plan on it. Thank you, Nisa.
All right, bye.
Bye-bye. You're listening to Spaced Out Radio. We are going to hop out for a break at the top of the hour. Area code 215, you were trying to call in. I will get to you right after the break, so call right back in about 5 minutes. You're listening to Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott. We'll be right back.
Become more intimate and interactive with Spaced Out Radio. Join our Space Travelers Club with your new membership. For $5 a month, we'll provide you with special access to the website, monthly prize draws from books to psychic readings, along with monthly newsletter, private interviews, and more. Sign up today to be part of Spaced Out Radio's experience.
Every month on Spaced Out Radio, we look into the deep and dark reports of cryptids roaming around the world with me, Rob Morphy, from Cryptopia.us. I would love it if you would join me and host Dave Scott as we delve into the most arcane stories and reports regarding creatures of the unknown. My job is to hunt down the details and bring the evidence forward to you. These aren't your regular Bigfoot stories I'm talking about either. You can find out more about crypto history at spacedoutradio.com.
With an ever-expanding listenership base, Spaced Out Radio is the perfect place for you to advertise your product. Our listeners support those who sponsor this show. So whether you're an author or a company, Spaced Out Radio is the perfect place for you. Our pricing is more than competitive, and your advertisements will be seen and heard every show. Head to spacedoutradio.com and advertise with us today. Contact us at info@spacedoutradio.com today.
You hear footsteps in the empty room above you. A rocking chair begins rocking by itself. Don't be afraid of the things that go bump in the night. Reach for Spirit Storybox, the iPhone app the Huffington Post UK called the only ghost hunting app you will ever need. Spirit Storybox. The spirits are telling their stories. Are you listening?
Strange creatures lurking in the night, the sounds of wood knocking in the forest, odd happenings right out of a fictional world. These are the reports I love. Hi there, this is author Ronald Murphy, and I would love it if you join me and Spaced Out Radio host Dave Scott the second Wednesday of every month on our journey into the unknown land of cryptozoology at spacedoutradio.com. From Mothman to Frogman and everything in between. Hey, they don't call me the crypto guru for nothing.
Is the 24-hour world starting to wear you down? Let me from Rivulet Reiki and Ratings lend you a hand. Hi, this is Jolene, and if you're in need of Reiki or a realm reading, come to my website, rivuletrr.wix.com/rivuletrr&r, and let us help you out. At Rivulet, I specialize in healing your body, mind, and soul, no matter where you are. And be sure to check out the Rivulet R&R Facebook page for your best deals. Remember, it's time for you to make some time for you.
Find yourself constantly looking up in the sky, looking for answers? Have you had extraterrestrial contact? Are you an abductee? Looking for answers to your experiences? Hi there, I'm R. Keith Andrews, Spaced Out Radio's resident ET expert. Join me live the first Friday of every month where I take questions from the Spaced Out Radio chat room and help you understand those from the far-off world. It's 2 hours of knowledge every experiencer should listen to. Hope to see you there.
Did you know that Spaced Out Radio runs 7 days a week? Hi, it's James Tyson from Spaced Out Weekend. Every Saturday and Sunday night, starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, you can join me and my guests for some great chatter about what's going on out in the universe, or even in that dark part of the basement you really don't want to go back into. Well, let's find the answers to your experiences together. So come on up to Uncle Jimbo's cabin on the weekend. For more information, look us up at spacedoutradio.com.
I'm so glad to be here. I'm just really glad to be here. All right.
Would you like to connect with us on Spaced Out Radio? Head to spacedoutradio.com to check out the latest shows, guests, and sponsors. And don't forget to sign up for the Space Travelers Club. You'll find all you need at spacedoutradio.com.
And welcome back to Spaced Out Radio tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott. It's always a pleasure to have you with us on SOR. If you're in the Spaced Out Radio chat room, Paranormal Into the Night, Paranormal Forum, or you're listening into our new syndicated area, which is SHR Media, we really appreciate you calling in. Tomorrow night on the show, the Crypto Guru is back. Ronald Murphy just wrote a book on mermaids. We're going to talk about mermaids and merman tomorrow night on SOR. If you want to follow us on Twitter, you can do so at Spaced Out Radio. Give our Facebook page a like, Spaced Out Radio Show. On Instagram, you can follow me at Dave Scott, SOR. All our archives are on Spaced Out Radio Show on YouTube. They are free. And our website is spacedoutradio.com. Tonight, we are having open lines. I want to hear your freaky, scary, weird, odd, macabre stories. I have a book from our Illuminati watcher, Isaac Weishaupt. There we go. Sacrifice, Magic Behind the Mic. It is autographed. It is up for grabs tonight to the best caller of the night. And we're going to head back to the phone lines. We are going to bring in Roz now. Roz, how you doing?
Oh, good, sir. I hope you had a good trip to see Guns N' Roses this past weekend.
I sure did, man. I sure did. As I was saying to a lot of people who asked me about it, Axl Rose sounded like he was back in 1989, hitting all the high notes, hitting everything. It's just too bad he wasn't running around stage because he broke his ankle the week before in the Troubadour, so he was sitting on a concert chair the entire concert. But seeing him smile when he was watching Slash play his solos was absolutely incredible, and it really looked, and I've seen Guns N' Roses now 6 times in the last 4 years, and he really looked nice and relaxed, and it was incredible to see. I was glad to be there for the first official night of their world tour. It was beautiful.
Can I ask a quick question about that concert?
Yeah, man.
That chair, that throne, was that the same one Dave Grohl set on from the Foo Fighters? Because that looked
yes.
kind of familiar with other guitars.
Yeah, it was the exact same chair, and actually, Dave Grohl flew it in for Axl. And Dave Grohl was at the side of the stage, just kind of walking up. And it was funny because Axl was complaining during the show. They had blocked out the double F on that chair, which stands, of course, for Foo Fighters. And halfway through the concert, they actually ripped it down, so Axl had the Foo Fighters logo on stage for the show. It was really cool.
That's pretty cool, because, I mean, you always hear that Dave Grohl is like the nicest man in rock and roll, and to see him to, extend the olive branch, to Guns N' Roses, and for Axl to, accept something like that, to me, shows that I really think that he's getting it now, that, they caught lightning in a bottle at that time, and, they put out, Use Your Illusion 1 and 2, Appetite, G&R Lives, and the Spaghetti Incident in a short period of time. And a lot of people I don't want to say don't appreciate it, but it was just so much at one time. You think, okay, they're going to come out more and more and more down the line, and then poof, it's gone.
You got that right. But the legend is back, and now I got to figure out how I'm going to get tickets for down in Seattle when they make their way down there. You have a scary story for us, or an odd story. Let's hear it.
Well, yeah, I don't want to say it's scary, but it's something that it affected me indirectly, but it still applies to this day. If a lot of people don't know me or my background, I'm full-blood Native American, or like you say, First Nations people. We lived on our original allotment given out by the government. My grandfather was born and raised and died within 3 miles of, where he was born. And even to the day that he died, back was in the early 2000s, there was no running water. We had electricity, no gas. All he had was electric, no telephone, no nothing. So we had water from a well, And we had these giant propane tanks that looked like missiles, and we would get those filled up in town maybe once about every 2 weeks. And the well water was the coldest, most purest water I've ever drank. I miss that water. I will buy bottled water from any place just so if I can find that taste, but I've never found it yet. But when he was a kid, him and his cousins would go down to the river, which was maybe half a mile, 3/4 of a mile down below where their house was. They call it down in the bottoms, down in the flats, because when the river would flood, it would come up and, a little bit. And back then, when I first learned how to fish, for catfish, which is a bottom dwelling fish in the United States, a lot of people, it's pretty popular down in the South, and they even have contests for noodling, where you go fishing with your bare hand. My stepdad and my brother and my uncles love to do that, but I enjoy my fingers and my digits and use a fishing pole. That's just me personally. But at that time, back then, when the rivers would flood, the catfish would come up on the land, and, they'd be in a field. You can go out with a pitchfork and just basically stab them and, toss them whatever you're carrying them. Back then, they were using potato sacks, call them toe sacks, and they would toss them in there. But at this time, when they were fishing, it was my grandpa and his 3 cousins, and they were down on the bottom, down where the river, bends, and they were fishing. And back then, well, even to this day, if you catch a catfish, you can break his neck instantly, and it'll die. Or you can toss on the bank, and the catfish will live for hours on land. It's weird. It's kind of like the salamander type thing where it can breathe, and, it can still pull oxygen out of the air.
Right.
But they would toss them on the bank because they were catching them, and they're, and then one of my grandpa's cousins was like, "Shh, be quiet." And, they're like, "What?" "We're catching fish." And he was like, "Stop." And so they got quiet. They looked around, and he was like, you smell that?" He was like, "Yeah, it really stinks." And they looked, and coming around the corner, around the bend, I guess the wind was blowing their direction. They could smell the Bigfoot. And they stopped.
Oh, wow.
And they saw it across the riverbank. And, he told me he was about 10, 11, maybe 12 years old. And they took off running as fast as they could, covering as much ground as they could. He even said, Jim Thorpe at the time couldn't outrun me. He goes, "I was the fastest end in the land because I was so scared." And they got back and told their parents and explained what's going on. And he was like, and they just kind of like, "Okay, tell us more. What'd you see? What happened?" And then the kids thought, they knew what they saw and they explained what they saw, but the parents thought the parents knew what they saw, but the kids took it like the parents didn't believe them. But eventually they said, "Okay, this is what you saw. You knew what you saw. We've seen them too. So we accept them. We acknowledge them. Yes, when we go fishing, we will toss 1 out or 2 on the bank for them as an offering, as to just kind of a peace offering, a little treaty." And they're like, "Well, you kind of learned your lesson because you were throwing them on a bank and they could smell the fish, down the wind." And so they're coming and looking for them, thinking it was us that, we'd catch 1, 2, the last 2 or 3, leave on a bank, and we're cleaning up and going. And so the kids, they were like, "Oh, okay, so we're not out of our minds. We all saw it." And the parents, eventually told them, "Yes, this is what you saw. Don't be scared of it. It lives with us. It cohabits with us. It is part of being in nature. If you don't bother it, it won't bother you." And when I was a child, I lived with my grandfather, and I learned to drive at the age of 12 because in Oklahoma, there's a lot of dirt roads. And if you see somebody on a dirt road, they're probably either learning to drive, or I hate to say it, or they're drinking and driving late at night. So if you're on the blacktop, on the highway, you're doing the speed limit, but on dirt road, you take your time because the dirt roads can easily get washed out by a creek or a flood and cause loose gravel, which will cause a lot of wrecks if you're not paying attention. And so that's where I learned to drive, because if something happened to him, you know, the nearest hospital was 45 minutes away, and that was a city hospital, in which if they needed a helicopter, which was about another 45 minutes away. So it was just, you know, we're way out in rural Oklahoma.
Right. Hey,
Like
Roz, I got a question for you. In regards to the heritage of your First Nations, I know up here they have warned all young women to never travel alone at night because apparently, according to the legends here, there are not many female Bigfoot out there, and Bigfoot is always looking for a wife. And I know in the Chehalis First Nation, they actually have recorded reports of that happening once or twice. Were you or your First Nation ever forewarned, not so much being a young man that you were, but for the young ladies to be careful when traveling alone, especially from evening switching into darkness?
Well, that makes sense, because they always told my mom and my aunts and cousins, you know, as a woman, if you're out, don't go out by yourself. Go as, not as a group, but at least as a pair. So it wasn't exactly strength in numbers, but, you know, I would think two women could beat that one person. You know, if it came to sticks and rocks, you know, the man will have the physical strength, but the women, you know, we play a game called stickball, and it's called Little Brother of War, and we still play it to this day. There's a lot of well, it's actually evolved to the game of lacrosse, in which the men had to use the sticks and to pick up the ball and throw it in a score. And when the women played, they could scratch, claw, bite, kick you, and the baby makers, they could do whatever they needed to get that ball, and they could throw it with their hand to score. And so that, you know, that taught a lot of the women, I don't want to say self-defense, but it taught a lot of the women how to be aggressive towards a man, even though he was holding sticks. And the men with the sticks could not touch the woman. They just had to take it and accept it, and just, you could hit the other man with the sticks, but when it come to a woman, you couldn't do anything.
Right.
You know, if she pulled your hair or anything like that, trying to get that ball,
right,
you know, if she pulled it long enough and hard enough, you'd eventually give it up. But that does make sense, because, you know, they always told a lot of them, go out in numbers, or at least groups of two.
Right. Roz, thank you so much for calling in and sharing that Bigfoot story of your grandfather. I really appreciate that, man.
Oh, no problem. And just when it come to my part, we were out fishing. We were throwing a net, trying to catch some bait fish so we can go catfishing. All of a sudden, my grandpa was like, we need to go. You know, I was like, okay. You know, we got in the truck, took off down the road. Really didn't understand. I was like, okay, maybe the fish weren't biting there. And then we get down, you know, a few first miles down the road. He throws out his net, and he's catching the bait fish, and we catch a lot of catfish. And, you know, he leaves some out on the bank. And, you know, when we get home, I said, Grandpa, why'd we leave that spot? And he was like, well, we weren't the only ones there. There were other people fishing. And I said, I didn't see anybody else fishing. I said, how many people know about this spot? Because the only people know about the spot is our family and them. And then as I got a little older, he said, you know, and them was the Bigfoot who was fishing in that area. Wow. And he always told me, he's like, don't look out the window after dark.
Right.
Because all we had was electricity. We didn't have running water. We didn't have a telephone. Like I said, everything was gas. We had wood-burning stoves, fireplaces. And he said, don't look at the window after dark. And I'm like, why? He goes, because you don't know what may be looking back at you.
Right. Roz, thank you so much for calling in tonight. I really appreciate it.
Hey, thank you. Have a good one.
Take care. That's Roz. He's part of the Paranormal Forum group at paranormalforum.net. We appreciate them following us around as well. 1-702-302-4556 is the phone number to call if you want to tell me your scary story. We got about 6 minutes before we got to go to a break here. But the best caller of the night is going to win an autographed book from Isaac Weishaupt. He is our Illuminati watcher. Sacrifice Magic Behind the Mic is the book that I am staring at right now. To finish my story in regards to... Well, we'll get to my story if we can. We got another caller coming in, area code 215, calling back once again. Eugene, how are you doing tonight?
Good, Dave. How you been?
Good. It's a very nice opportunity to chat with you. How's the gifted psychic doing?
Not bad. Still waiting for summer. You know, it's still chilly up here, Philly, in Pennsylvania.
I know chilly, man. I'm way up north.
That's right. Yeah, I'm glad you had a good time at that concert.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I would love for you to share a interesting story. We got about 5 minutes here before we got to go to break.
Okay. This is 96. So I had been having these repeating dreams of a house, of floating around the top of like this mansion, and I would go down somehow through the roof, and I would walk down the steps. What I would later remember would be with a ghost, except in the dream I saw them as real people, even though they seemed kind of maybe out of time with what they had on as far as clothes were concerned. So I went down this spiral staircase and out into the balcony where they had some kind of a party, a banquet or something. And then I kept having that dream over and over and over. So one fall, the fall, I guess, of 96, we were at my son's football practice. I was with his goddaughter. It was getting cold. So I said, let's go to Borders and read and then come back after practice. So we went to Borders, and we happened to walk down this one aisle where one book was at the end of the aisle. It was a dead-end aisle, and the book was on haunted houses. So I said, look, Cindy, let's see if there's a haunted house in Philly, and we'll go to it after practice. So we found one. It said it was one of the most extremely haunted mansions in the country. It said it was extremely haunted, so I really wanted to go because I had dreams and inner stuff out of bodies. But I wanted to see something fly across the room or a ghost appear. I want to see something in the physical world happen. And so after the practice, we got her boyfriend and his brother, and we went up there. She stayed with son at the car while us three went up. And the houses, apparently balls would come out of midair and the rocking chair would rock and stuff like that. So we walked, we didn't even have to go inside, Dave. We walked around the house and everything seemed normal. And I remembered this is the exact house. And I also saw it in Borders. I had dreamt of this exact house that the haunted house registry led us to. So when I saw that house that matched in the book that matched my dream, I said, I have to go there. So we went there. It was at night. We walked around the back. Everything seemed normal, and through like a little clearing of trees and stuff, we could see what looked like two huge luminescent beams. They looked like telephone poles, about that thick, and they looked like they were walking, as in any kind of way that they were just moving, one in behind the other. So after we saw that, we bent down and got all kinds of angles. We turned around to see if anyone else could see it. We all three saw it. And then after that, you know, being from the city, we immediately left. We weren't taking any chances. So I would later, in 2000, take a female friend there, and we would go onto the haunted mansion, and if anything scary happened, we would film it. If nothing scary happened, we'd use it as a modeling shoot. And Sarah, just like us, only stayed about 3 minutes. And you can see her, and it was 2-degree weather in December. You could see her running in the snow back to the sidewalk. Once she got to the sidewalk, she glided across the sidewalk without moving her legs. And I was still filming her. And somehow the house started to magnify her looks, and she became super beautiful. And she literally glowed on screen. I have that on film, too. I'm going to get it out of copyright and let you see that, Dave. So that was a weird... So I took that home a few weeks later. I looked at it. I let it just refresh. I forgot about it so I could see it fresh. So I looked at it. Everything was perfect in all the scenes that we did, because we kind of tried to make her like a model, like we stopped at a park and had her do some dances or spins or whatever. But but when I put it in reverse, or slow motion, I mean, all her super cute, attractive scenes became a figure of a witch-like figure with a long nose, even at one point a pointy hat. And then I would turn it back in regular speed, and she would go back to being her normal self. When I turned it back to slow motion, it was a completely different, almost like demon girl. And she didn't believe in that kind of stuff, but was kind of shocked when she saw it. And her mom also saw it, too. And so I had that on film. That summer after that, I did another film in the extreme heat of summer this time instead of winter. And this girl who did the filming was more comfortable with the house and kind of melded in with it and was comfortable. She, at one point, Dave, changed, her physical features changed 7 different times in like 11 seconds, and I have that on film. It was, the house had like amplifying effects on anyone who spent any kind of time there. Also, the 3 of us all had close, kind of dangerous calls after that, too. After the initial time we went up there, and before I did the film, I went up with the goddaughter again in the daytime, because I wanted to try and absorb any kind of energy, like electromagnetic energy that would be in the mansion grounds. And the mansion was a Revolutionary War cemetery and a Civil War like death house for soldiers to die in. And it said it was loaded, and you had a fear just seeing it when we drove. It was a big house on a big hill, and it was in the inner city. But the ghetto people would only stay 3 or 4 blocks away. No one came near there, and even though they could have went and partied on the lawn, they would not come near there. And every other house across the street was abandoned, and the people had moved out. So we got that on film, both in the summer and winter. And that was a weird thing with a haunted house. When I did absorb some of that energy, it had a strong effect, which I guess I can talk to you later about that, on Facebook or in message or something. But interesting with the haunted house, there's a lot of energy there, and it can be absorbed. It can be absorbed, like, and it's like a booster, like a psychic booster. That's what I was using it as, and that's when I initially got into the near-death research.
Awesome.
And started just knowing a lot of stuff and stuff. So that's my story.
Eugene, thank you so much for sharing that with us. I've lived in a couple of haunted houses, and now I think instead of running away from them, I would walk into them. That's all I can say.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much for calling in tonight, Eugene, and sharing that.
All right, thanks, Dave.
Take care. Open lines tonight on Spaced Out Radio. Your best story has a chance of winning a book from Isaac Weishaupt, our local Illuminati watcher here on SOR. We're going to hop out for our final break of the night. When we come back, more of your phone calls, more of your stories right after this.
Looking for a place to get your product to the public? Advertise with us at Spaced Out Radio. At spacedoutradio.com, you can check out our pricing and packages that best suit your budgetary needs. Whether you're a budgeted author or a company looking to expand, our listeners support the products that support spacedoutradio.com. Advertising with us is an effective way to get your message out. Contact us at info@spacedoutradio.com and get your ads out today.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. With their money-back guarantee and the many benefits, how can you afford not to get one? Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com for mind, body, and spirit. And expect a miracle.
Right here, this is where we divulge the fruit of our research. Here on the Webster Phenomena every Saturday night at 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 p.m. Eastern on Spaced Out Radio. And we give it up to you guys, all the listeners, and the live listeners usually get something special and hang out in the chat room. And we love to have you. So we'll see you every Saturday night at 8 p.m. You know where.
Attention Spaced Out Radio listeners. For only $5 a month, you can join Spaced Out Radio Space Travelers. Your membership at spacedoutradio.com will give you access to private fan area on the website, get you a monthly newsletter, draws for monthly swag, and a whole lot more. Sign up today to become a part of the Spaced Out Radio experience.
You hear footsteps in the empty room above you. A rocking chair begins rocking by itself. Don't be afraid of the things that go bump in the night. Reach for Spirit Storybox, the iPhone app the Huffington Post UK called the only ghost hunting app you will ever need. Spirit Storybox. The spirits are telling their stories. Are you listening?
Strange creatures lurking in the night, the sounds of wood knocking in the forest, odd happenings right out of a fictional world. These are the reports I love. Hi there, this is author Ronald Murphy, and I would love it if you join me and Spaced Out Radio host Dave Scott the second Wednesday of every month on our journey into the unknown land of cryptozoology at spacedoutradio.com. From Mothman to Frogman and everything in between. Hey, they don't call me the crypto guru for nothing.
The last Monday of the month on Spaced Out Radio is a night of psychic vision, mediumship, UFO and ET contact, Bigfoot stories, animal communication, and so much more with me, Elizabeth Anglin. I'd love it if you would join host Dave Scott and I on the myriad of topics we delve into. Every month, we share new views that may help you understand your own experiences. So tune on in at spacedoutradio.com and stamp your cosmic passport.
Did you know that Spaced Out Radio runs 7 days a week? Hi, it's James Tyson from Spaced Out Weekend. Every Saturday and Sunday night, starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, you can join me and my guests for some great chatter about what's going on out in the universe, or even in that dark part of the basement you really don't want to go back into. Well, let's find the answers to your experiences together. So come on up to Uncle Jimbo's cabin on the weekend. For more information, look us up at spacedoutradio.com.
Missed most of tonight's show? Don't worry, you didn't miss a thing. You can head to our website, spacedoutradio.com, and download our archives for free. And don't forget to get your Space Travelers membership today. Now, back to tonight's show.
Welcome back to Spaced Out Radio. Tonight I am your host, Dave Scott. Open lines, your haunted stories tonight on the mighty SOR. Thank you so much for everybody participating in the Spaced Out Radio chat room, along with Paranormal Into the Night and Paranormal Forum. Your stories have been great tonight. We really do appreciate everything that you are doing for this show. If you want to follow us on Twitter, you can do so at Spaced Out Radio. Give our Facebook page a like, Spaced Out Radio Show. You can also follow us on Instagram, Dave Scott, SOR, including our YouTube channel. Sign up for that. Subscribe to it. Spaced Out Radio Show, that is where all our archives are. As well, our website is spacedoutradio.com. Tomorrow night on the show, the Crypto Guru is back, Ronald Murphy. We will be talking mermaids and his latest book on mermaids. And maybe Ben Stiller's Merman. It all works good. 1-702-302-4556 is the call-in number. We're going to head back to the phone lines here. Daryl in New York. How are you, my dear?
Hi, Dave. How you doing?
Good.
I wish I could, I'm lying if I say I'm doing great, but we've been having an unusual amount of explosions in New York so much so that like neighborhoods are kind of like walking, to avoid the next explosion. Like, oh, it's coming from there. It's coming from there. It's become like a community thing.
Do you have a paranormal
I usually
story?
get on my bike and I run to the Chelsea Piers, which I feel is safe. It's the safest place I can be within New York, away from any disaster or catastrophe, so to speak, right?
Yeah, Daryl, do you have any paranormal stories for us tonight?
Well, I feel, there are people there as well that come from other areas that also hear the explosions or something that sounds like a building falling. But in any case, there are people there that, now, like I have friends there. But I went there too early or too late. It was like 3 a.m, heard a really loud explosion, scared the crap out of me, got on my bike, ran to the Chelsea Piers, and I went in the wrong way, which means that like you're indoors but you can't get out. And I realized they had locked the exit, to go to the end of the pier. I said, oh shit, now I've got to go all the way back. We're talking about like almost 4 blocks, and it's really scary at night. There are shapes and things moving from any size you can imagine. Meanwhile, I look back, I'm like really scared to have to even go back, that way. I look and the gate suddenly is opening, and I'm thinking I might be hallucinating. This might not be happening. There's who's here? There's nobody here. And I'm looking at, and I said, oh, what the hell? Let me test my sanity and see if it's really happening. So sure enough, I get there and the gate was open. I'm like, who in the world opened the gate? That was like crazy. But I was so thrilled I didn't have to go back that way. And I could tell you, if I told you all the things I saw on that pier, I'd have to really have proof to show you what I saw, and I didn't have a camera, so I'm going to make it short. But there were things there, and I realized that it was a very dangerous thing to do, to be alone on that end of the pier, like that lady that you've had on, I think, Angie is her name. One of the people that have been abducted said, you don't know what you're dealing with, don't be alone. The best way to avoid getting abducted is not to be alone, and vulnerable. And when I was out there, I realized, wow, I could so be taken. There were so many things out there that I was so frightened of. I definitely decided that I don't think I need to be anywhere alone at 3 a.m. That's that scary at night,
I hear you, my dear.
I'm telling you, it was something else. And I've taken some photographs and videos, and I have seen things disappear from our skyline. There are buildings that are falling down. And there are reports on Google, I did a month based on a month, and I don't know how many buildings within the New York area have collapsed. Probably at least 10. So
Daryl,
it's not something that we're imagining, but it's just very scary. And why are they collapsing? And I spoke to one of your other medium people who said that they're building this Tower of Babel. Have you heard of this in Times Square?
Well, they're trying to. But we're trying to keep the phone calls on to the paranormal tonight.
Well, I hope mine was interesting enough. But
thank you, Daryl, for calling in, my dear.
That's what it is. Okay, thank you.
Bye-bye. 1-702-302-4556 is the Skype line that we have on Spaced Out Radio. Feel free to call in. Tell us your paranormal stories. We have about 20 minutes left before we end up choosing who the winner of the night is on the mighty SOR. So getting back to my ghost story at my house where I had the little girl there. I woke up one night. I fell asleep on the couch. My daughter, at the time, she was 3 years old. And, man, time flies. She's 17 now. and she used to sleepwalk. And she came downstairs at about 1:30, and she laid on Daddy's chest and fell back asleep while I was watching the sports highlights, making sure, because I worked as a sports reporter at that time, making sure I didn't miss anything. And I guess we fell asleep on the couch. My neighbors beside me in the duplex, my buddy there who lived beside me, he had this dog where at 4 o'clock in the morning every night this dog would start barking. I mean, if there was a crosswind 4 miles away, he would bark at it, and that was worth at least half an hour of barking. One of those types of dogs. And long story short, I was going to get up because the dog woke me up, and I was going to get up and move so that way I could go to the window, tell the dog to shut up, and then go back to bed. I woke up, I saw my daughter laying on my arm, and I tried to quickly turn over so I could slide my arm out from under her, and I rolled over on the couch to slip off the couch, and about 2 feet away from me, there was this little girl standing there. And she was staring back at me. She had long, ringlet, dark hair. She had these pudgy little cheeks that a 3-year-old would. 2-3-year-old would. And she was wearing a white nightie. And what scared me the most as I made eye contact with her was I'd never seen her before. And I had noticed that I could stare right through her. Because on the other side, right through her, I'm dating myself here, was my VCR. And the time read 4:02 a.m. So I did what any man would do. I had a blanket that was on my daughter and I. I quickly rolled back over, and I threw the blanket over my head, and I started hyperventilating because I'd never seen a ghost before. And I remember pinching myself. Am I awake? Yes, I'm awake. I caught my breath. I slowed my breathing down. I rolled back over to see if she was there. And boom, she was gone. 5 days after that, my ex-wife got woken up by our piano being played. We had 2 cats. The cats liked to jump up on the piano, so she thought it was the cats banging away on the keys. And we had a 2-tiered stairway, so she went down the first tier onto the flat part before going down to the second tier. And the hallway light was on. And she looked at the piano, and there was a little girl standing there playing on the keys. And the little girl then turned her head and looked up the stairs at my ex-wife. And then turned her head back, and my wife just slowly crept back to bed. It was eerie, eerie times, man. Eerie times back then. Since I've opened up, the spirits that I've seen or had interaction with were pretty weird. When I really noticed it happening was probably in 2011. No, pardon me, that would have been 2012. My daughter, we call her Middle SOR, because she's the middle child. Her bedroom window faced my neighbor's home on the side of the house. And on the side of my neighbor's house, he had one of those sensor lights. And she had freaked out because there was someone in her room standing, a black spirit, and it scared her. So I went in there, we took her out, and I went in there. And I really didn't understand the whole paranormal side of things at that time. And I ended up noticing the searchlight going off and on. And when I started asking yes-no questions, if it was a yes answer, the light would go on. And I don't know what made me catch my attention, but I just did. So I sat on her bed, and I said, "Are you a man?" The light went on. Now this light from me I'm inside, the light is outside. This light is probably 18 feet away. And then I said, were you just in my daughter's room? The light went back on again. I would wait for it to go off. And I started asking a bunch of yes-no questions. And I got about 20 questions in before this kind of started freaking me out a little bit. I called one of our intuitive friends, and she's like, yeah, I'm picking up on this guy right now. You don't want to deal with him. So she immediately got us to, we ended up having some sage in the house, and we saged the heck out of the daughter's room, and she slept well that night. But it's pretty incredible how kids pick that up, because I don't know if any of you have children out there, and if you do, you have to give them the opportunity to speak. And I've always been open with my daughter or my stepdaughter in what they see. My daughter personally, who's now 17, she has been seeing spirits since she was about 1.5 years, 2 years old. And we've never taken that away from her. She chooses right now not to interact with the spirits. And that's her choice. She's allowed. But she has seen many, many things. She would get upset because right before bed we'd always have tidy up time. And then you wake up in the morning to get her up for school, or even when she was younger before school, to get her ready to go to daycare or grandma and grandpa's or something along those lines, and her room was a disaster. And to this day, she still rubs it into me. She goes, I told you, Dad, that there was a ghost in my room. I told you that. Because these ghosts loved playing with her toys. And sometimes it would wake her up, which she would then run into Mommy and Daddy's room and need to sleep with us for the rest of the night. But when you don't know about it, or you don't know what the cause is, your immediate reaction is to blame the kids. It's interesting how as parents we do that. But we need to be able to open up. Spirits can be scary because we don't know what we're dealing with. I got time for one more caller if somebody wants to call in. 1-607, or that's the old number. Let's go 1-702-302-4556. Chance to win a book by Isaac Weishaupt. It is autographed. His book, Sacrifice, Magic Behind the Mic. Of course, it has to do with the Illuminati infiltrating the music scene across the world. Very interesting indeed. I want to know your paranormal story. Tell me about it. Very, very cool indeed topic tonight, and we've had some really good callers in regards to it. So, my paranormal experiences have kind of been all over the board. Probably one of the more interesting ones. Well, you know what? We're going to go on hold here. And we're going to take a caller. This is from a Nevada phone number. It's a 702 number. Hey, how you doing tonight?
Good. How are you? This
Good.
Is Don, Radio 702 Rocks. First time listener.
Hey, Don. How you doing? I was just in Vegas.
Yeah, I know. I heard.
Yeah.
Well, I've seen.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I hear Axl Rose doesn't look so good.
You know what? He was, maybe it's just because I'm an Uber fan, but he was smiling a lot, but he wasn't doing much walking with the broken ankle.
His bones are brittle.
Well, he is getting older. He is getting older.
No, I'm kidding.
Hey,
I'm sure he would appreciate the humor.
You're a first-time listener. Thank you so much for checking us out. I really do appreciate that.
Of course. Thank you for having me on your show.
Yeah.
I wanted to tell you, my son was killed in 2008. And
sorry to hear that.
Well, thank you. He was killed about 10 houses away from where we live. Now, my wife feels that when he passed away, there's a realm that when you die, in other words, there's an in-between, and she believes that he was in that in-between place where he didn't want to completely surrender to the light, or if there is such a heaven, he didn't want to go to it. He was resentful and rebellious to the fact that he died so young. But she, after he died, she spent a lot of time sleeping in his room as a comfort zone, I guess, which I didn't think was a good idea, but, you know, everybody has their own way of grieving. And I believe that when she was in that room, there was a dark spirit force that was in that room. Now, she tried to commit suicide once because of the grief that she had to go through. And you and me, as men, we love our kids, but I think that we don't understand how it is for a woman. In fact, it's not that I don't think, I know. And so their grief is so much more intense than ours, I think. And so anyways, I think that by her being in that room, I think there was a force or a spirit in that room wanting her to hurt herself, because if it were my son, I believe that, of course, I would know that he would never want his mom to do that. So I just don't know if it was because it was his room, if he's still there, or if there's some... I guess my point is that I really have never really truly believed in paranormal, and I just one of them skeptic kind of people. And I just maybe think that I might have somebody come in here and because we tried the sage and all that, and I just don't know if it's worked.
You know what? I'm going to suggest something to you, if you don't mind. And I'm just looking at my dates here. We just had it on every second Sunday. James Tyson, my weekend host, and since you're a new listener, I'll fill you in. We do this show 7 days a week. I host it Monday through Friday, and James Tyson comes in and hosts Saturdays and Sundays. And every second Sunday, he actually does a show called Two Mediums and a Large with two mediums that are extremely talented in regards to answering these questions. I would highly suggest that they just had their show 2 days ago. So in 2 weeks from now, call in on the Sunday. It'll be a different phone number, same station, but James broadcasts from a different location, so he has a different Skype line. But I highly suggest calling in, because Joanna, our resident medium, she is fantastic when it comes to communication with the other side. And I would...
And what time is it at? Yeah, go ahead.
Our shows, as of this coming Monday, will start at 9 p.m. and run till midnight Pacific time. And you're on the same time zone as us, being from Nevada.
Okay, all right. And that Sunday show, what time does that air?
9 p.m. until midnight.
So all 9 o'clock, all days of the week. Okay, great.
Yeah.
I'll do that.
Yeah. But I really think that Joanna could really tune in. I know people who have called in and just been wowed by her, and she is the real deal when it comes to it, and she is very, very special with her gifts. And we,
go ahead.
No, please.
I take it that if there's anybody in this world that could convince me of such a thing, it would be her. That's my question.
Yes. I've personally had a couple of readings by her, and I was blown away. And I do have to admit, I lean on her for the spiritual stuff, and she kind of leans on me because I'm more into the ETs and the UFOs and things like that. That's why Nevada's right up my alley, which is why I have a Nevada Skype number, right? So
I imagine you go up to Tonopah quite a bit.
You know what? You know what? I haven't been up in that area since 2010, but I'll tell you an interesting story, Don.
Yeah.
A couple years ago, when I was going down to the Guns N' Roses residency at the Hard Rock, I actually have a buddy in Vegas who's in the music scene, and he's like, Dave, when you come down, let's drive out and we'll check out where Area 51 is, and we'll stay there and see if we can see anything at night. And I was like, yeah, man, let's do that. I'm totally pumped up. And I told my wife what I was doing, because I was she gave me the hall pass to go down there for GNR. And about 3 weeks before I left, I had this absolute anxiety attack that I was not supposed to go there. And the one thing that I have learned since my intuitiveness personally has kicked in is to listen to that little voice. And that little voice, call it intuition, call it whatever you want, basically told me or showed me a picture in my brain. I don't know, I can't remember now if it was a dream state or just daydreaming, of us arriving there in the evening and something really bad happening. And I remember telling my wife, I said, I'm not going out to Area 51. I don't think they, whoever they are, want me to. And I said, I am getting this horrible feeling that if I go out there, I'm either going to be arrested or I am not coming back. And my wife kind of looked at me absolutely white-faced, and she goes, I had the same feeling.
And I bet you that's something that you probably haven't felt before or in a long time.
In a long time. You know, so I'm still a little hesitant on whether or not I should go out there, but
maybe not.
That time it was not meant to be, and so there was no way in hell I was going to test fate on anything that went out there. Do you see a lot out there? I mean, you're in the Las Vegas area. Are you seeing a lot out there?
No, like I said, I've always been a skeptic, so I really probably don't pay attention to what it is that you're asking. If it is going on, I'm really not. I don't even, when they have an eclipse, which is, very seldom, I'm not one to rush out there and go look at it. So, I mean, and that's the normal. So as far as the things that you're asking, I think that after speaking to you tonight and surrendering to this and having more of an open mind, and then maybe perhaps talking to Joanna, I think that's what I need. But that question that you're asking, I honestly can't answer it for you.
Well, you know what's funny is when I fly into McCarran Airport, when I go down there, I'm always looking for the Janet jets that are flying into Area 51. And when we flew in on Thursday last week, there was just one there. When we left on Sunday, there was like 8 planes there. So at least now I know that they take weekends off at Area 51. You can tell by the amount of planes.
I drive commercially a tractor-trailer for a living. That's what I do. And I've been up to Tonopah at night, and I tell you, it's very eerie because they have such a thing as called a ghost highway where there could be a spirit sitting next to you, shotgun in the passenger seat. And there's been truck drivers that have actually pulled over and got out of their truck because they've been scared. I mean, I'm talking about big, girly guys. Guys are 200, 300, 400, not 400, but 200, big, stocky guys.
Yep.
And, and it scared the crap out of them. So, it's a 2-lane highway out there, and it's very dark. So Tonopah, with its history, and if you're a believer, it's a scary highway to travel on. So,
hey, do you know anybody who we could get in touch with to talk about that highway? Whether it's a paranormal investigator.
I'll look into that for you.
Yeah,
I'll look into that for you because there's I don't know if you've ever heard of Art Bell.
Yes, we have. We're all former Art Bell fans around here.
Oh, okay. Well, that's a crazy question. He would be a good person to contact, and he's he's in Pahrump, and he's got that Pahrump radio station out there. He's very easy to get in contact with. I would suggest you talking to him, sir, and if he doesn't know, he can certainly point you to the right person.
I do in May have a couple of people from Nevada coming on to talk about paranormal, so maybe we'll have to hit them up.
Cool. Well, I've really enjoyed listening to you tonight, and
thank you.
And I think it's interesting. I will certainly continue to listen, and I say hello to all the people in the chat room. I see some of the chats, and hello from Radio 702. We rock the planet.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And you know what? I'm going to check out your show. You give us a like, we'll give you a like. Be a nice, fair trade.
I've already done it.
All right. Now, just so you know, Don, we are big Ron Bumblefoot Thal fans around here. He is the official music of Spaced Out Radio.
Okay, well, tell him to send his material to my email. Maybe I'll consider playing it.
All right. Take care, my friend.
All right, man. Bye-bye.
I'm going to make a decision right now on who won the big contest for the Isaac Weishaupt group or book, Sacrifice Magic Behind the Mic. This book's going to Hawaii. Nisa, I need you to get a hold of me. That story about Grandpa's ashes, I haven't stopped laughing about that yet. You are the winner tonight, Nisa Cameron from Hawaii, of the Isaac Weishaupt autograph book. Thank you for participating with all your phone calls tonight on Spaced Out Radio, sharing your paranormal stories. I really appreciate that. Radio 702 rocks. Don, thank you for finding our show. Really appreciate the new listeners. Everyone in the Spaced Out Radio chat room, Paranormal Into the Night, Paranormal Forum, great to have you with us. We're going to do it all again in 22 hours. Why? Because that's what we do here at Spaced Out Radio 7 days a week. As of Monday, we are going to 3 hours, starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern. So you just only got this week to be staying up till 1 o'clock if you're out in the East. Tomorrow night on the show, the Crypto Guru is back, Ronald Murphy. We are talking mermaids. Let's crank it up here. Former Guns N' Roses guitarist Ron Bumblefoot Thal. The official sound of Spaced Out Radio. Remember, you can follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Facebook page, we're almost at 2,500. Help us get there. Spaced Out Radio Show. Our YouTube channel, where all our archives are hidden, you can listen to those for free anytime you want. Spaced Out Radio Show. Subscribe to our YouTube channel for that. On Instagram, you can follow us at Dave Scott SOR. And of course, our website is spacedoutradio.com. Talk to you in 22 hours from now. Time for you to go to bed.